I personally feel like Rotorua has it has a lot to offer. Plus, on top of it, you save a lot of money living in Rotorua and traveling in Rotorua.
We're live.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Welcome to another one of our live sessions where we are going to be answering all your questions about traveling in New Zealand.
Yeah, so if we are just meeting for the first time, this over here is Robin and I'm Laura. And together we are the team behind BackpackerGuide.NZ, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. If you guys haven't checked it out so far, it is all about travel in New Zealand, including all the amazing destinations you can go to and all the amazing activities you can do, but as well as some more practical advice and all that nitty-gritty stuff, from booking your flights to working holiday visas and all that sort of thing. So Backpacker Guide is basically like the whole complete guide for New Zealand. And every single Sunday morning, 8 a.m. New Zealand time, we do this live video session where we answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. So just so you guys know what time that is around the world, in the US, that's on a Saturday at 2 p.m. EST or 11 a.m. Yeah, 11 a.m. PST. In Europe, UK, France area, that's 7 p.m. on a Saturday. And in India, that is 12:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. So you will catch us every single Sunday. And this is your opportunity to give us any questions that you have about traveling in New Zealand, which is best done putting your questions into the live chat so we can answer them throughout this live session. But otherwise, if you can't catch us on the live video, or you just want to send us a question throughout the week, you can also send us a question through our different social media channels. So you can put a comment in any one of our YouTube videos. You could also send us a message on Facebook, which is BackpackerGuide.NZ. You can also send us a private message on Instagram, which is at BackpackerGuide.NZ. And you can also send us give us a mention on Twitter, which is at BPKGuide.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff to tell you, but now you guys know everything. All right, taking a second, say hi to the chat. Good morning, Gab. Nice to hear that you're in Tauranga. We have your question. We're going to go through it. I think you're going to be number 2 because we have a question that we have to go through before. But yes, we'll go through a question. And good morning, Andre. How are you doing? That's been, you were here last week. I was about to say you didn't show up last week, but you were here last week. So I hope that everybody is doing all right. And if you guys are cool with that, we're going to start with our first question that we actually received on YouTube. And that's from Matthew Kennedy. He said, hey, you guys, I'm traveling in Auckland in June. What is the average temperature like in June there? And what we're going to do is the entire New Zealand weather in June. All right, let's get started. Should we use the map?
Let's get the trusty map out.
All right, New Zealand weather in June. So on BackpackerGuide.NZ, we do have an article for every single month of the year with all the different weather that you're going to get, as well as all our travel tips for this very month, as well as the places that we prefer to visit during those months. So we did put a lot of work into that, and I really invite you to check that out. So it's on BackpackerGuide.NZ. And then after you click on the backpackers advice and then weather and climate, I think that's the one.
That's right.
And also, obviously, we're going to be putting a link to this article in the in the description of the video below as soon as we repost it. Anyway, let's get started. New Zealand weather in June. For the northern New Zealand, we're going to be talking about temperature first. And that will be about 12 degrees Celsius, which is 53 Fahrenheit. That's this whole area there. For central North Island, that's Hamilton, Taupo, Rotorua. That's 8 degrees Celsius, 46 Fahrenheit. For the southwest North Island, so we're talking about New Plymouth, Palmerston North, and Wellington, it's about 9 degrees Celsius, which is 48 Fahrenheit. For the eastern North Island, that's Gisborne, Napier, and then the whole Wairarapa. Every single time there's a different typo on the Wairarapa on the article. That's quite funny. Yeah.
Oops.
So that's 10 degrees Celsius and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. For the northern South Islands, that's Blenheim and Nelson, that's 8 degrees Celsius, that's 46 Fahrenheit. So it starts getting a little bit cold. Obviously, you know, the winter is coming. For the western South Island, that's Westport, Hokitika, and Milford Sound, that's 6 to 7 degrees Celsius, that's 43 to 45 Fahrenheit. For the eastern South Island, that's Kaikoura, Christchurch, and Timaru, that's 7 degrees Celsius, which is 45 Fahrenheit about. For the inland South Islands, that's your Lake Tekapo, Queenstown, and Alexandra. That would be 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. So now it starts getting really cold. That's 36 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. And for the southern New Zealand, that's Dunedin and Invercargill, we're talking about 7 degrees Celsius. It's 45 Fahrenheit. So obviously in June, the weather is getting really cold. Is June winter? Yeah, it is winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so June, I think, is the first month of winter.
First month of winter.
So we're really getting into the winter right now. So it starts getting rather cold. So you've got to be aware that rainfalls are going to be extremely prominent. So pack your rain jacket, but we'll go through that a bit later. Now we're going to go through the map of New Zealand again, and we're going to talk about precipitation, actually, which is rainfalls. And now northern New Zealand, again, Northland, Auckland, Tauranga, that's about 150 millimeters. Central North Island, Hamilton, Taporoturua, that is 80 millimeters. Southwest North Island, New Plymouth, Palmerton North, and Wellington, that's 140 millimeters. Eastern North Island, that's 100 millimeters. Northern South Islands, that is 60 millimeters. So this will be one of your driest parts of New Zealand. Yeah. So if you're really scared of the rain, this may be a great place to locate yourself at. The Western South Islands, that's the West Coast. It's called the Wild West Coast. It's extremely unpredictable, but it's between 240 to 450 millimeters of rain. So this will be your wettest part of New Zealand. That's a lot of rain. But it is what makes New Zealand beautiful. And on the West Coast, the rain is actually quite fun. I mean, you've seen some videos of us under the rain on the West Coast. Eastern South Island, so that's Kaikoura, Christchurch, and Murray, 70 millimeters. Inland South Island, 30 to 60 millimeters. And the southern New Zealand is 80 millimeters. So here you go. There is plenty of information for you guys to know how to plan your trip around New Zealand in June. But because it's winter and it's the first month of winter, I think we should go through a couple of things that you absolutely need to pack when traveling in New Zealand in June. And this starts straight away with a rain jacket. I already mentioned it once. And yeah, there's no way around it. You will see some rain in New Zealand in June. And the best way to approach it, because you've seen the temperature, they're a little bit cold, but not too cold. So you don't necessarily want to have the thickest big kind of snow jacket. You want to have just a rain jacket and layer it up. So you want kind of like a really sturdy rain jacket, and then you want some layers. You also want obviously beanies and scarf, because again, it is going to be a bit windy and a bit cold. Anything else?
Well, definitely you want some layers to keep. Did you already mention layers?
Yeah, I just explained all the layers stuff.
Okay. So obviously in New Zealand, a really huge activity here is going for hikes and walks. So because it does rain a lot, you definitely want to have yourself some really good waterproof hiking shoes or hiking boots, because there's nothing worse than getting your feet wet on a hike. So definitely if you can get yourself some Gore-Tex, or there's different names for this, like sort of breathable membrane, like waterproof layer that you can get in hiking shoes, but anything with like Gore-Tex, Hi-Tech, T-Tex, it has loads of different names. Definitely worth getting for New Zealand, especially for June. So yeah, just keeping yourself warm. You're probably not going to need to worry about sunscreen and insect repellent really around this time of the year.
No, that's why I actually do really like traveling in June, because you don't have any scent flies and everything.
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
insects are just underground. So it's such a kind of peaceful. Also, you not even have to bother with other tourists, because New Zealand kind of really quiet down.
Yeah.
Obviously, aside from the ski resorts.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much all the essentials for winter packing. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about that?
That's pretty much wrap it up. If you do want to dive into the weather in June in New Zealand a bit more in depth, obviously check the link that we're going to put in the description below. If you find this useful, guys, I know there's plenty of you guys live and plenty of you guys that rewatch it again. Hit like, hit subscribe. We're here to help you out every single week. All right, taking the time to say hi to the live chat. Good morning, Samir. Oh, Stone Skin, hello. Still going crazy with the emojis, eh? Yeah. Andre is asking about the Doubtful Sound 24-hour trip. We actually have a video about that if you want to check it out. So we went all the way down to Doubtful Sound and everything. We didn't stay overnight, but you get to see a little bit of the area and everything. It's totally something which is on our to-do list. We've done a 24-hour trip in all the sounds, and it's absolutely amazing. It's definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
So if you do have the time and the budget, definitely do that. Gab is having another question. We're going to first answer your first one, Gab, and then we go with the other one. Good morning, Oibaf. We do have a question from you, and it's a long one, so we'll do it as well.
Get to it, yeah.
And Beastmaster, 24 hours in Christchurch. What should I do? Beastmaster, we actually did answer this question a few weeks ago. So if you go on the channel and use the search bar on the channel and you type Christchurch, you will find like all our favorite things to do in Christchurch. And I feel like you'll be able to pick the one that you like the most. Ladotel, he got a visa just now coming in October. Congratulations. Woo! You're going to have fun. But now it means that you need to start planning the trip. So basically, you need to start binge watching those videos and the channel as well. Brian is moving to New Zealand June 1st. He'll be here for 1 year. Oh, wow. Well, listen, we just gave you all the weather. Don't worry. The weather is not going to stay like that for the whole year. But yeah, it is going to be cold for you first month. But it's a great introduction to New Zealand because you'll get New Zealand all to yourself. So it's pretty cool. Heshan, good morning. All right, cool. All right, we're going to go through Gab's question. So on Facebook, actually, she sent us the question. So Gabriel said, I'm already here. Yay. And thanks for the advice. It's been so much easier, all the arriving process. Now I'm in Tauranga, and a group of Latins and I would like to know what things, cheap or free, beside the beach there is to do around. Soon we will have a car so we can make one-day trips. Thank you for the great help. All right. Do you want to get started on this one?
So the first thing that springs to mind for cheap and free things to do in Tauranga is spending some time in Mount Maunganui, which is the suburb which has that big mountain at the end of it. And I think the number one thing to go and do is to hike up Mount Maunganui and get some awesome views from up there where you get to see the nice long stretching beaches and all the urban areas of Tauranga. That's really cool and an absolute must do in Mount Maunganui. Also at Mount Maunganui, there is an island that you can walk to. There's a little causeway to get over to the island, and that's called Leisure Island, and it's accessible from the main beach in Mount Maunganui. And on there's a little bit of a walk, a few information signs, because this island used to be sort of like a leisure park and have like some spas there, also some like wildlife dolphin parks and stuff there. So it has a bit of a colorful history that you can read about when you go and visit it. So that's a really cool thing to do as well. But like you mentioned, you do have a car, so you can go and do some day trips. And a really awesome day trip that we've done ourselves is going to McLaren Falls Park. So it's literally about 20 minutes drive out of Tauranga. And there's loads of different walks you can do around there. There's a beautiful big lake. There's obviously some waterfalls to see, some beautiful picnic areas as well, and some glowworms. So so McLaren Falls Park is another really cool option. And we do actually have a video to what visiting McLaren Falls Park is like, which we'll link up in the description when we repost this video. And yeah, some more things to do in Tauranga itself. The art gallery is free to visit, which is always worth having a check out. And that usually takes about 30 minutes to go and visit the art gallery. And you can also go to the farmers markets. They're always definitely worth checking out in New Zealand. It's really part of the Kiwi culture. There's lots of like food tastings. There's usually live music, and it's just like a really awesome place to go and check out. So in terms of where the farmers markets are in Tauranga, there's one in Coronation Park on Saturdays. And there's also one in the Phoenix car park on Sundays. Is there any that you would like to go through, Robin?
Where are we on the list? Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. Do you guys like surfing? I mean, that's pretty cool. Mount Maunganui is actually quite famous for surfing. There's surfing, and there is also stand-up paddleboarding, which is really cool to do. Well, surfing is obviously going to be cheaper because you can just hire the surfboard. You don't have to go through a lesson if you don't want to. But yeah, it's really cool to do, and especially really fun to do with your mates as well, which I do really like. What else do we have on the list? And
also about surfing, if you're staying at one of the hostels, they do hire surfboards for really cheap, or free, I think, in some cases. So yeah, that's definitely free or cheap.
It's not the best. It's not the best surfboard, but it's free or cheap. Yeah. Another really cool place to go to. It's a little bit of a drive, but it's Papamoa Beach. It's absolutely stunning, especially at sunrise, right?
Both sunrise and
both
sunset.
Sunrise, sunset. But sunrise is absolutely amazing. So it's a great place to go if you're a group of friends. You grab yourself basically a picnic and you go and have fun over there. It's a really amazing place. I know you said like not just the beach, but this beach in particular is really stunning.
That's a different beach.
It's an excursion. There is also the Te Puna Quarry Park. It's a really big park with a lot of exotic trees. There is also some sculptures. So Te Puna is TEPUNA. If you want to type that onto your GPS. There is also the Elms Mission House, which is one of the oldest house in New Zealand, actually 1847, if I'm correct. It's a great place to kind of understand a bit more of the early kind of Kiwi culture. It's like an old kauri house. So kauri trees is those really big trees and really hardwood. It gives a very different kind of feel and look to a place. Now the kauris are very endangered here in New Zealand, so it's like highly protected, and you may understand why more visiting that. There's also one of our favorite waterfall in the country. Actually, it's featured on our list of the 15 best waterfall in the country. Is the Kaiate, I can pronounce that. Kaiate Falls. The drive over there is about 30 minutes out of Tauranga, and when you arrive there, it's a 1-hour loop. So it's really not that long, but it's really fun with group as well, and some amazing picture opportunities. So make sure to tag us on Instagram if you take some awesome picture on that. What's the tag?
It's #BackpackerGuide.NZ.
If your picture is good enough, we're gonna feature it on the feed. So yeah, that's basically it for like what we consider is kind of in Tauranga. But since you're gonna have a car, definitely consider like a short drive to like the Karangaheke Gorge, which is absolutely amazing. There's like mine shafts and it just looks absolutely fantastic. Also drive to Rotorua. There is plenty of stuff to do in Rotorua, heaps of Maori culture, heaps of amazing activities, and probably on the East Cape as well, which is on the east side of the North Island. There is a lot of stuff to do there. Start driving toward Te Puke, which is the Kiwi capital of New Zealand. Start driving toward Opotiki, and there is some awesome dunes to explore, some great mountain biking areas and all of that. So definitely around Tauranga, it's kind of a hub, and you are so like you're not really central, but you're in the middle of the North Island, so you do have a kind of a lot to visit around, and there is no shortage of things to do in Tauranga, that's for sure.
Definitely.
All right, so I hope that this answered your question, Gab. If you do have any follow-up, in the comments below. If you guys want to dive a little bit deeper again into the things that there is to do in Tauranga, we are going to be putting a link to an article of our favorite free and cheap things to do in Tauranga, as well as our backpacker guide to Tauranga, just so you get a feel for the place, know where to stay, and all of that. So yeah, that's basically our stuff right now, and we're going to get back to the live chat.
Let's do it.
Good morning, Kirsten. Are you starting walking yet or not yet? Are you no?
Stretching, doing the morning
So if
stretching.
you guys don't know, Kirsten is walking all the way around New Zealand, and we find that absolutely crazy.
Not walking, not just walking.
No, running all around New Zealand. So it's so we like to hear from him regularly and know that he's okay and he's somewhere safe. All right, what else is happening here? Is it autumn in October? No, it is not. October is spring. Yeah, no, it's spring in October in New Zealand. So just reverted stone skin. So yep, here you go. Someone was asking about Christchurch, renting a car, taking the bus. I can't remember. Let me just find it. But do you think you should take the bus or rent a car in Christchurch, Laura?
Well, Christchurch is a city, so usually when you're in really big cities, it's just easier to take the bus.
So it was Beastmaster 56 asking if rental car is good in Christchurch or is bus and walking. We personally, we don't like driving in cities. I think it's a bit of a pain. So we prefer taking the bus, but you have plenty of options in Christchurch. If you do feel like you want your own car, it is rather cheap, and there is a lot of competition. So you're not going to find that too hard to actually arrange. It really depends where you want to go. If you want to get out of the city, obviously you're going to need a car. But if you just want to visit the city, going to the gardens, to the museum, to those kind of things, then definitely just take the bus.
Is fine. Yeah,
definitely.
Someone was asking if the weather in Australia and New Zealand is the same. It really isn't. Australia is known for being much warmer than New Zealand, and New Zealand has I think, more changing weather. So the weather can change a lot within one day. There's a famous saying in New Zealand of being 4 seasons in one day when it comes to the weather. So yeah, in New Zealand, it's colder. It's more likely within one day to be raining, to be windy, to be sunny, like, which, yeah, in comparison to Australia, that's certainly not the case.
Yeah, cool. Stone was asking about the season in New Zealand. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown so you know which season is which month, okay? So spring is running from September to November, okay? Summer is from December to February. Autumn is from March to May. And winter is June to August. So you guys know. And I know that sometimes it gets really confusing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, when I originally came from Europe, I was like, what? It is summer in December. It's just really confusing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just kind of refer to, actually, even I still have to refer to the list. Like, okay, this is the season here.
Yeah.
It is quite crazy sometimes.
Will car rentals be cheaper in winter? They really will. They'll be about half the price of what the prices
at least
are
half
in
the
summer.
price. Yeah. Brian Milligan was just asking if the car rental would be cheaper in winter. Definitely much cheaper. They have inventory that nobody is renting, so they are slashing down the price. We even see sometimes camper van for like down to like $20 a day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So if you are planning on traveling and you do want to save some money, definitely try to travel in winter in New Zealand, and you'll save so much.
All right, guys, should we go through another one of our questions while you keep on sending us some quick fire ones? All right, cool. So a question that we got that was from Oibaf1420. By the way, you are live on the chat. I know you're here. You need to explain me your name. I do not understand. I want to know, why is it such a complex name? Anyway, on YouTube, Oibaf1420 asks, what are your favorite multi-day walks that are not great walks? All right, that is a really cool question. I just have to say that this is so rare that we get a question that we both get really excited. So we wrote a lot of notes. We're not going to go too crazy because we do have on BackpackerGuide.NZ an article called the alternative to New Zealand Great Walks, which are all the multi-day walks, which are much cheaper and much more, the thing that we still love a lot. But let's go through a few of the one that we do really like right here. And the first one that springs to my mind, I think we're going to do one, is the Holyford track. So the Holyford track is between 2 to 8 days, and it's up to you to choose. It doesn't mean like some people walk 4 times faster than others. So the Holyford track is 2 to 8 days, and it's in the Fjorden National Park. Now, in the Fjorden National Park, this is where you have the hikes like the Milford track. This is where you have the Roodburn track. Another one of the Great Walk is there?
Milford track, did you say?
Milford track.
And Kepler track.
Yeah, Kepler track. That's the other one. So there's 3 Great Walks right in the heart of the Fjorden National Park, where this is another really amazing alternative, and really little people are doing it. So the huts are much cheaper. They will cost you about $15 per day. What's the cost of the hut at the Milford track at the moment?
Milford track and Rootburn track, they are over $100 per night.
So we're talking around 10 times cheaper just for the hut alone. The Holyford track is absolutely stunning. It starts with like some amazing cliffs from the Darren Mountains, and then you follow the Holyford River, and you finish on the wide west coast, which, you know, despite the fact that we always tell you guys how much it rains over there, it is one of the favorite region in the country. Yeah. So it's definitely a great it is a great walk, which is not a great walk. So I always got it. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a really cool one. Do you want to do another one?
Okay, so another really cool one to do on the North Island is the Puake Circuit, which is in the Egmont National Park. And if you don't know where that is, that's in the Taranaki region. And it's right in the center of the Egmont National Park where Mount Taranaki is. And then it's got this perfectly circular forest around it. And this circuit takes 2 to 3 days. And I just want to emphasize that a circuit is really awesome to do on a multi-day hike in New Zealand, because that means you don't have to arrange transport to get back to the beginning. So a circuit means that basically you begin and end your hike in the same place. So the huts on this on the Puake, I don't know how to pronounce it very well, but Puake Circuit are really good quality. So they actually have heating and lighting. It's a little similar to
this is very rare in a hut. I just want to say this is not normal.
Similar to the huts that you would find on a Great Walk, but obviously a lot cheaper, only around $15 per night. And yeah, the circuit basically goes around like around the perimeter of Mount Taranaki. So you get awesome views of this perfectly coned volcano in the middle. And you also get to go through some beautiful forest, sort of nicknamed the Goblin Forest in Taranaki because it just looks like a fairy tale mythical place. It's really cool. So this would be a good alternative walk to do to other volcano hikes like the Tongariro circuit.
Although it is very different, it's still going to be a really good. It's just really cool to see how volcanoes can look so different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, do you want to go for another one?
All right. So the next one is the Humpridge Track. Now, the Humpridge Track is it's not the cheapest one, but yeah. So it's in the Fjorden National Park and gives you a very different. Again, I'm just going to recap. The Fjorden National Parks, where you have the Milford Track, the Kleppler Track, and the Roodburn Track, and also the Holyford Track that I mentioned previously. It's one of the most picturesque kind of national park in New Zealand. It's actually the largest national park in the country. I think the Fjorden National Park.
Yeah, I do believe
it is gigantic at the bottom of the South Island. It's really amazing. And now the Humphrey Track gives you a very different kind of look of what the Fjorden National Park can look like, because you go through the rugged coastline of the national park, which is very rare for any of the walks that you're going to find in the Fjorden National Park. They usually don't go through coastline. Now, the track is actually on private land, so you have to go through a private company to do it. So it will cost you $175 for the 2 nights accommodation, and that includes breakfast. So now that's still about half the price of doing the Milford Track, and you get free breakfast on top of that.
Yeah.
So it sounds more expensive, but it is still cheaper than the Great Walk, which sounds quite crazy when you talk about walking for $175.
And so also, I just want to say the accommodation is very different there as well.
I mean, it's private accommodation, so it's not a hut. It is much more comfortable.
It's more of a lodge, like a nice, comfortable lodge.
And the $175 is actually for the 2 nights, so it includes both nights and both breakfast. So it's quite cool. So the views are fantastic. The feel is fantastic. You still get like this feeling of the beautiful Fjordland National Park, but you also have the coastline, which is very different, and it's a bit more of a luxurious experience. It's really awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah. So another really awesome walk that I have done myself, actually, the Altea Track
by yourself.
I know. Yeah. So the Altea Track is on Great Barrier Island, which is a pretty large island off the coast of Auckland. To get there, you need to either take a ferry or a flight. This hike is 2 to 3 days long. And this is probably an alternative to doing the Rakiura Track in Stewart Island. So it's like a different island multi-day walk, but it's a lot warmer because it is in Auckland, in the sort of like northern regions of New Zealand, whereas Stewart Island is in the very southern regions where it is a lot colder. The huts are really good quality. There's a really awesome hut which is like on the edge of basically on the edge of a cliff, where it has amazing views over the island, and they cost around $15 per night, so definitely affordable. So on Great Barrier Island, there's loads of wildlife to see. So you get like a lot of opportunity to see birds, and even some birds that can't be found anywhere else in New Zealand, which is really cool. And the whole hike along the way, you get a really good mix of forest and also beautiful views across the island. So
that was 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, I already said that.
You just said that.
Yeah. So that's the Altea Track, and we'll put some more information to that track in one of the articles in the description below.
Mine. Yeah. The next one we have is the Pelorus Track. So now the Pelorus Track goes, it's in Pelorus River, Pelorus Sound. It's between Nelson and Picton. And that would be very close to the Abel Tasman National Park, which is going through the Abel Tasman. The Abel Tasman Track, which is one of the Great Walk, and which is going in the Abel Tasman National Park near Nelson. Now, the views, again, are going to be extremely different, but they are absolutely fantastic. So it's a 3 to 4 days walk. It's in the Mount Richmond Forest Park. The huts include the heating as well, not like you really need it because it's kind of warm part, but in case you're doing winter, it includes heating, and they are like $5. I mean, compare that to a Great Walk, it's crazy. Now, so you're going, you're following basically the Belarus River. You're going from Nelson to Picton. It's a fantastic walk. You're going through the parts in not the Lord Ring, in the Hobbits. You know where if you watch the movie, where they are doing all this craziness with the barrels, like all the Hobbits are in there. So that's basically where they were shooting it. Like you will actually pass literally through movies location while walking, which is absolutely awesome. So it's definitely one worth doing. And you finish in Picton, which is an amazing place. I genuinely love Picton. Other point of interest alongside the walk are going to be waterfall. There's quite a few really, really nice waterfall. And there's an old chromite mine as well. So it's part of New Zealand kind of culture and history. I don't know what chromite is.
Yeah. Okay, so another one actually in a very similar area to the Belarus track is the Queen Charlotte track. And this goes through along the mountains of the Queen Charlotte Sound, which is basically the whole Marlborough Sounds area where you pass through and you take the ferry between Wellington and Picton. That's the sort of area that you're going through. But there is a multi-day hike there, which is really awesome. And it's 3 to 5 days long. And it's a one-way hike. So there's various different accommodation options that you can take on the Queen Charlotte track. You can stay in huts, which are around $8 per night. You can stay in hostels along the track, which is about $30 per night. And there's even some luxury lodges and accommodation if you really want to have a fancy time. Oh, sorry, I was nearly about to choke. Choke with excitement because that's it's an awesome walk, and that's about $200 per night. So yeah, that's a really awesome hike to do, and it goes basically from bay to bay. You get to see some really secluded inlets and awesome like ocean views. You get to go through amazing forest and get to just awesome views over the mountains along the way. So that's a really awesome one to do. And also you can mountain bike this track as well.
But what I really like about it as well is that you can make it your own experience if you want, because if you do feel like, you want to stay on the cheap, you stay on the cheap as it goes. But if you do feel like you want to treat yourself one day along the way,
I think I just want to make an amendment to that. I don't think you're staying in huts for $8. It's campsites.
Yes.
So campsites for $8, then hostels, all luxury accommodation. Yeah.
All right, and then finally we have the Around the Mountain track, which is literally the closest hike to the Tongariro Alpine crossing. The crossing. Yes.
Yeah. The Great Walk.
Or the circuit
is the circuit. Yeah.
The Great Walk is a circuit that includes the crossing as well. Now, so it's in the Tongariro National Park. It is alongside the most popular hike of the country, which is the Tongariro Alpine crossing. It gives you amazing volcanic views. The landscape is absolutely stunning. It's definitely worth doing. So
loads of waterfalls.
Yeah, loads of waterfall as well. So that's going to be 4 to 6 days for the walk. The huts are going to be around $15, except that one hut alongside this track is actually shared with the Great Walk. So this hut will be $36, and you will need to actually book it a little bit in advance, just to make sure that you can secure your own
I think you can also get away with avoiding that hut and staying in one of the other ones. I think that you'd have to check how far the walking distance is.
So for most of the multi-day hike, when we say 4 to 6 days is what the Department of Conservation kind of recommends. So they will tell you, well, day one you do this to this, and then you do this to this, and then you do this to this. But very often they give you days which are like 5 or 6 hours, and so we don't really get what are you supposed to be doing for the remaining 19 hours of your day?
Might as well keep on walking.
Exactly. So sometimes it does happen. More than sometimes, almost every time we do a multi-day walk, we actually kind of skip a day, and then 1 day, 2 days become 1 day, and so you skip a hut. So if you kind of organize yourself properly, that's definitely what you can be doing on this one. Rather than making it 6 days, you make it 5 days, and you kind of skip that one, and you just have 1 day when you hike 8 hours. Which, to be fair, if you do a multi-day hike, you better hike 8 hours, otherwise you kind of I still don't understand what you're doing if you don't walk. But it's my experience.
That also opens it up to people that maybe are a little bit unfit and that would want to take their time and really have basically the peace of mind knowing that the hut is really not that far away. It takes maybe 5 hours to get to. You can take all day to get to that hut. So it's just another safety precaution if you feel like you're a slow walk and you don't want to get left out in the dark, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is, so this is literally just the tip of the iceberg, right? There is a huge amount of absolutely amazing multi-day hikes to do in New Zealand, and the great walks are very small minorities, just the walk which are basically being marketed a lot. So
Yeah.
really look around. There are a ton of options, and we will put some links below to the hike that we like the most. We also talk about them a lot on the guide, so make sure to check out BackpackerGuide.NZ, which is all our travel guide to New Zealand, and you'll find that there is many options, and you don't necessarily have to shell $150 for a night in a hut on the Milford track. Trust us. All right, if you did find that useful, like and subscribe. Honestly, we do that every single week, and we're here to answer your question. And in the meantime, I'm going back to the live chat. All right, so say hi to Steve Boy. Good morning.
Hello, sisters. That's what he
sisters.
says.
Michael, hello, how are you doing? We have your question. We're actually doing it next. So that's going to be cool.
Awesome.
Now, Samir is asking questions about being a student and earning and jobs. Samir, we do have a lot of videos about that already. So if you browse our channel, you find a playlist about working in New Zealand, and we cover all of that. We also cover about student accommodation and all those kind of things. So you will have all the information you need if you watch like the 15 to 20 videos we already did about that. So check those one out. Indigo Fella says from Kathmandu, and he wants to know the cost of living in New Zealand on a monthly basis. Same thing, if you check out our playlists of the cost of life in New Zealand, or money, or budget, all those kind of things.
We also have a really good, we have a video which is how expensive is New Zealand, giving you sort of typical prices for everyday items. Obviously, cost of living on a day-to-day basis is different for everyone because everyone has different habits. So if you just have a look at how expensive is New Zealand, gives you typical prices, you pick and choose what are the things that apply to you, and you can work out a budget that's right for you. Exactly.
So there is a whole video about that and plenty of articles on BackpackerGuide.NZ. So check that out as well. In the meantime, we are going to be answering the question from our Hawaiian friend. All right. So Michael Mariano sent us a message on Facebook saying, "Aloha, smiley face, shaka hands. A few more weeks and I still haven't decided on what our plan will be." Scary smiley face to both of them. So my wife and the two kids, 4 and 3 years old, will be traveling in a self-contained Maori River camper, starting from Queenstown and dropping the van in Christchurch. With so many good things to see in New Zealand, I just couldn't decide on which place to go. 5 days is not enough. Yes, it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Let's go through your itinerary.
Okay, so what do we have?
All right, cool.
On the map.
So you got 5 days to go from Queenstown to Christchurch. So our plan will be to go from Queenstown to Wanaka, to Franz Joseph, to Hokitika, and to Christchurch. All right, just a quick disclaimer. 5 days is definitely not enough. I cannot stress that enough. This is a very, very, very short itinerary. And yeah, so definitely not enough. That's for sure. But we basically had to cut a lot of corners, right? You want to go from Queenstown to Christchurch right here. You basically have two routes. You can go up the West Coast and visit that. But, we already said about 3 times during this live session that we love the West Coast. So obviously we will pick this one. And your other option will be go through here. So the option that we did not pick will include going from Queenstown to Dunedin, then going to around Lake Tekapo, then Mount Cook, then Christchurch. That's the one that we didn't choose, but you have the option. You can write those one down, do your research, and see if that will work for you. Now, the one that we chose for you will be going from Queenstown to Wanaka, to Franz Joseph, to Hokitika, and then making your way to Christchurch, and we'll tell you why right now.
Okay.
Laura, do you want to get started? When you're having Queenstown?
So when you're in Queenstown, you really have a huge amount of options there. If you're into adventure activities, you could all your bungee jumps, skydives, all that are there. But also because you are traveling with kids, there's a really fun family-friendly activities to do. For instance, the luge, which is on top of the gondola in Queenstown. It's basically downhill go-karting. You can basically get your kid on your lap and go on the go-karts down the hill. That's a really cool thing to do with kids. There's also jet boat rides to do. I think you can take kids on those. So there's also well, there's plenty of walks you can be doing. There's some really awesome places to eat along the lakefront, get an ice cream.
Yeah, take the kids at the gondola already. They're just going to love it. That's the only thing you need to do. Just go on the gondola, look at the views. There, you're going to have fun.
Gondola's the first place to go. Okay.
Then we're moving on to Wanaka. So it's not too long of a drive. So what we kept in mind as well is that we wanted to keep your drives rather short because, well, you drive with the 4 years old and the 3 years old.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily want to be stuck in your car for 8 hours a day because that would be a nightmare. So going all the way to Wanaka will be taking you about between an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, I think it's about an hour. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have to stop for the kids, an hour and a half, otherwise an hour.
Yeah.
But it will take you about an hour to go down to Wanaka. Wanaka is an absolutely beautiful place. It's more of a scenic kind of place. So walk alongside the lake. You're going to find that it's very different here in New Zealand. The lakes have waves, not really big waves, but they kind of have waves. The kids really love that. You can go to that Wanaka tree to see this tree kind of growing from the water and take this amazing picture.
Puzzling World.
You can
for
go
the kids.
to can go to Puzzling World, which the kids are absolutely gonna love. It is a museum for optical illusions. I mean, if that's not for kids, I don't know what is. It's really awesome. It's really fun. Like, I mean, we had a blast, and we have a video on the channel about Puzzling World, so check it out so you see if the kids will be. I think you guys need to see that. If the kids would like it or not. But then after you drive to Franz Josef.
Just going like, whoop.
Yeah. Now, I think first the drive to Franz Josef is going to be absolutely amazing. Driving down here is going to be the Haast Pass. You can stop at Thunder Creek Falls, which is about a 10-minute walk only to a beautiful waterfall. So the kids are going to love that. One of the most kid-friendly walk toward the waterfall, I think. The car park also is very wide and very easy. So for you driving a big RV, it's going to make it very simple and very easy, which is always nice. So I think that is the perfect pit stop alongside the way. So when driving to Franz Josef, you stop at beautiful Thunder Creek Falls. Then you keep on driving, and then you arrive at Franz Josef. Now, Franz Josef has one of the most accessible glaciers in the country. Now, in case the weather is not that good in Franz Josef, on the day you leave Wanaka, you call those guys and you say, hey, are you going to be operating today? They're going to say yes or no. If they don't, you can stop at Fox Glacier, which is just beforehand, and you have two choices to visit the glacier when coming to New Zealand. I personally really believe that you should get your kids on the glacier to make them understand the value of protecting our planet. The glaciers have been receding a lot, and they probably will be disappearing by the time they're old enough to come to New Zealand and travel. It's the truth, but it's exactly what it is, because they're probably going to come to travel in New Zealand in 15 to 20 years if they want to come on their own, and the glaciers are going to be very small or maybe not even here. So so make sure to actually get them on the glaciers, get them to visit it, get them to understand the value of that.
So getting on the glacier is going through a heli hike.
Yes.
But alternatively, if the helicopters aren't running that day, you can also walk to the glacier. There's a couple of glacier hikes. Yeah, so they're quite flat walks. They're not too hard for children. So that's another really awesome option to do. You can do that both at Franz Josef or Fox Glacier.
Then you make your way to Hokitika. Where can they stop along the way in Hokitika?
Well, they can stop at the Punakaiki Pancake Rocks, which is an easy, about 10 to 20-minute loop walk. It's all like asphalt, tarmac, pavement. So it's really easy walking. And it's really cool to see all these like rock formations that basically look like stacked pancakes. So that's really cool. That's a really cool thing to do, an easy walk for the kids. Yeah, anywhere else you can go. Also visit. There's a cave at Punakaiki as well. So it's a really short, basically short.
It's not even a walk. You arrive. The cave is here.
There's a cave just basically off the side of the road. Yeah. You'll see the Department of Conservation sign. It's a green and yellow sign. It will say Punakaiki Cavern.
Don't be scared. There's only one road, so you won't miss it. There's one road, one sign. So don't.
So park up nearby where it's safe to do so, and you can just basically walk into the cave and go check that out, which is obviously a really fun thing to do.
In Hokitika, you get, obviously, it's a beautiful beach. It's world famous for its sunset. It has a lot of driftwood. But if you do feel like you want something super memorable, because you have kids, I will do something short, not too long. So I wouldn't be carving a greenstone, which takes the whole day, but I would do some bone carving. So there is a team over there called the Skeleton Crew Carving Studio. They're really awesome. And it will take you about an hour and a half to 2 hours to carve yourself a necklace made of bone. And they will help you do like some Maori kind of design, everything like that. They are absolutely awesome. And I feel like it can be pretty cool. Maybe you and your wife can be carving each necklace that you can give to each of your kids. That can be quite a fun way to remember that, and it will be something that you do yourself with the help of professional carvers. So I think like hitting the skeleton crew would be really cool. So I'll definitely do that in Hokitika. And then we drive towards Christchurch, and the drive is fantastic. That's going to be your longest drive, but it's really beautiful. There's a lot of place to stop at.
Yeah, so this drive goes through the Arthur's Pass National Park, and the drive itself is basically the activity. You get to go through stunning mountain scenery. There's a few places to stop along the way. There's a few short walks to go to some waterfalls, for instance. Devil's Punch Bowl is one of the really famous ones to head to. There's also the little village of Arthur's Pass midway through, so you can stop there and get yourself...
Little is the word right here.
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah, so you can stop here, grab yourself a coffee or, you know, some snacks and things, and enjoy the scenery as you're making your way towards Christchurch.
One of the really good things about Arthur's Pass road, I feel, is that almost every single kind of stop alongside the road, you will have really beautiful views. You will have really no waterfall, those kind of things. So it's kind of like, it is going to be an entertaining drive for the kids.
Yeah.
It's not going to be something where you just stuck like, you know, like you're probably used to in the US, you know, where you drive on the highway for super long and that there's, you know, just service stations along the way. That doesn't happen here. So, you know, you fill up in Hokitika, and then you're not going to fill up at all until here, and there's going to be a lot of things to do along the way. So so that's going to be quite cool, I think.
Yeah.
And then you're having Christchurch, and I think you're not going to have any time to explore Christchurch, but if you do have time, check out the Christchurch Gardens. Christchurch is called the Garden City for a reason. There is also some amazing museums. The Canterbury Museum comes to mind. It's really nice. You can do a city bus tour, you know, those kind of like red bus that are open on top.
Double-decker bus.
So you go on here and you can point out to the kids plenty of things and see the devastation that an earthquake can have on the city, which is very interesting. And if you do actually have some time, just drive to the Banks Peninsula and go check out some amazing wildlife, which is absolutely unmissable. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is how we will spend only 5 days going from Queenstown to Christchurch, man. It's just 5 days, really. You can't take longer. But try to make it work. I think this is the best plan you can have. But that's only our opinion. Again, I'll give you another option at the beginning of this video. So yeah. If you guys have some questions of your own, make sure to put them in the comment below, put them in the live chat right now. Make sure to give us a like and a subscribe if you do find that useful. We are here every week. All right, taking the time to say hi to a couple of people. Steve Boy asked if he can holiday with us and fit in our suitcase. Well, if you know how much we talk about biosecurity in New Zealand, you probably will get caught at the airport because we do not have the right to bring meat into New Zealand. I'm sorry, man. That's a fun one. Dick Shant, good morning. I hope that you're doing all right. Michael, happy to know that you found our answer perfect. I know we are perfect. Oh, yeah, we are. Anyway, there is no extra questions. I think I didn't miss anything. I hope I didn't miss any questions.
I missed a quick thing.
There was the question from Gab that I wanted to go through. Should we do that?
Yeah, we can.
All right, cool. So Gab, I hope you are still here. Gab was asking about the seasons for seasonal work. Yeah. All right. So Gab Ruiz on YouTube is asking, can you help us with our map calendar to know what can you read that?
Start again. So Gab on the live chat on YouTube is asking, another question, guys. Can you help us with your map/calendar to know what other seasonal works beside kiwi? So in terms of vineyards, apples, cherries, berries, etc. And in which dates is good in these areas?
All right. So Gab, the first thing that I want to point out right now is that I personally feel that the best approach right here is not to go with the different seasons, but go with the different regions and know which region has which work and when. So if you're okay with that, we are going to be going through different regions and tell you what are the seasonal kind of picking jobs or kind of farm-related jobs which are available at which time of the year. And I feel that's going to be a really good approach that way. And so we're probably going to get the map out, maybe, so we can point out. We can point out that's been too long without choosing the map.
Red this time?
Yeah, let's go for red. All right.
Should I be putting them on first?
No, just put the map in the middle and we put them as we talk about them. All right, so the first one that we're going to be talking about right now is Northland, the region of Northland. So it grows quite a lot of different things. It grows avocado, oranges, mandarins, olives, macadamia, and even kumara, which are kind of the New Zealand sweet potato.
I love kumara.
So there is work almost all year round over there, but the highest demand for workers for those areas will be April, May, June, and July. So that's April, May, June, and July. That would be the biggest demand right here in
Should we put
Northland.
April to July and point to there on that?
I don't think you need to write. We just told people. All right. Waikato. The region of Waikato is really big, but the region of Waikato is famous for blueberries, onions, potatoes, and asparagus, believe it or not. So same thing, there is a lot of work available there all year round, but the busiest kind of time will be summer months. So again, that would be like January, February, March. That would be the biggest month. For the Bay of Plenty, which is just above, that's the area around Tauranga. So this is obviously kiwi fruit, avocados, and feijoas. This is the region that has the Phuket, which is the kiwi fruit capital of the world. And so yeah, in the Bay of Plenty, there is plenty of work all year round. Whew. Free pun for you guys. But let's say the highest kind of months will be April, May, June, July, and August. April, May, June, July, and August. Now we're moving on to Hawke's Bay. Hawke's Bay is very famous for apples and grapes. Obviously, they do heaps of wine over there. They also do pear, apricots, plums, squash, asparagus, pumpkins, peaches, nectarines, olives, sweet corn, peas, and tomatoes. So they do everything over there.
The fruit bowl of New Zealand, I think they call it, or
really?
something like that. Yeah,
that's cool. I like it. So this is the fruit bowl of New Zealand. So there is plenty of jobs. There is plenty of jobs there as well. But the highest demand will be February, March, April, May, June, as well as November and December. So as you can see, it's almost all the year. So if you do want to guarantee yourself a job, you hit there, you go to Napier, you check out the Harchis Bunker Backpackers and the lovely, I think her name is Tinaka, right? Tinaka will put you to work, she'll find you a job, and she's like, boom, 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 you all sorted.
Yeah, so there's loads of working hostels in that area.
And there's not just this one.
They can help you find work, which is really cool.
Yeah. Do I keep going? Or
keep going.
Okay, cool. Wairarapa, the region of Wairarapa, they do wine, grapes, and they also do olives. Now, the demanding months are going to be June, July, and August for this region, which is above Wellington. All right, so that's pretty much it for like the main regions on the North Island. Now we're going to be looking at the South Island, and we're going to start with Marlborough, which is basically where you arrive there. And this is the region, one of the biggest wine region of the country. So a lot of wine grapes right here, as well as olives and sweet corn. Now, the best month to find a job there will be obviously for wine. So that will be June, July, and August. Now we're going to go to Nelson, which Laura didn't plan on having to do a different one.
Well, just a little one up here.
All right, so Nelson is just right here. So Nelson is very, very famous for its apples. Nelson's apple is very famous. And then, in New Zealand, New Zealand. And also blackcurrant, raspberries, and boysenberries. So Nelson actually does require work all year round, but the best, your best chance to find work will be to head there in February, March, and April. And finally, we're going to talk about Otago. Otago, which is a huge region where they do apples, apricots, cherry, grape, nectarine, and plum. And the best month to find a work in Otago will be November, December, and January. Now, one thing that I really want to stress out is that New Zealand has a shortage of pickers. It has a shortage of people being able to do this kind of job. So we have seen very often, especially at this time of the year, at the moment, people saying, even in the newspaper, and saying, if you have 2 limbs and are able to stand straight, I will give you a job. That was actually a quote in the newspaper that I've seen only a few days ago. So they really need a lot of workers. So those kind of jobs are very easy to get as long as you're willing to actually drive to a place and say, hey, I'm willing to work right now. But this should give you a bit of an idea of which month for what and which region for which month. All those kind of things. So I hope that this helped you. I know it's a little bit different to what you ask, but I feel that's the best way to explain what are the different seasonal jobs available in New Zealand at what time of the year. If you find that useful, make sure to click like and make sure to subscribe. We do that every single week, and we are always here to help. All right. Kirsten asking, Anna with good morning. How are you doing? Kirsten is asking, what are the best method to book activities in New Zealand? Online, honestly, Viator, for example, works very well. If you go on our website, we usually link to either the operator, you can book online. Viator is a very, very easy platform to use. Otherwise, you can definitely call someone and book the activities. Or you can also walk into your hostel or accommodation and talk to the concierge or to the reception. They can book those activities for you as well. So it's quite easy.
Yeah.
Gab say, thank you. It was very useful. You're very much welcome, Gab. Good morning, Tobira. I hope you're doing all right. Bart is asking, is the information regarding the seasonal job also on the website? Yes, Bart, I know that was a lot of information. So let me just show you that quickly, Bart. Now we have something called picking seasons in New Zealand. So if you go on the website and you go on the search bar right here and you type picking seasons, you will find this article first in the results, and you'll be able to read all the information that I just gave you and more, because obviously every single time we give you those answers on video, we kind of just, it's just the tip of the iceberg, because we don't really have time to dive in detail, in depth and everything. But our full research and our full knowledge is always on the article. So it's always, I mean, I know it's less convenient and it's less fun because, we're usually fun to watch. Yes, we are, right? But it is usually easier to watch on video. But if you do want to have all the details with all the links, with even kind of links to other useful articles and all those kind of things, you're much better off going on the website all the time. And that's why we always take time when we repost our videos to put links in the description. So every single time you watch one of our videos, make sure to click on the description and see what links we're giving you, because we always give you some links for further details and for further research. So is there anyone else to say hi to, or do we do one more question? What are we doing?
I think we can do another question. Anna says, I can't believe you were in Cape Town. We weren't in Cape Town.
What?
Maybe you saw someone that looks like us, but we definitely weren't in Cape Town.
We were not in Cape Town. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Should we talk about driving an RV? Especially Michael is going to be driving an RV as well. Do you guys want to talk about how to drive an RV in New Zealand?
Yeah, we have some experience in that.
All right, cool. So on Facebook, we had Alan Coe that says, hello, is it possible to drive a big camper van around a bigger town like Queenstown and Christchurch? Will we get tickets for that? And also any other tips for driving an RV in the country? Cool. All right. So first up, no, you will not get a ticket for driving your RV around a town. That's for sure. If you actually do, pass through a red light, or if you do anything crazy, yes, you'll get a ticket. Now, the one thing that you are going to get a ticket for is that if you park at the wrong place in town, or if you park and don't pay for it. But so if you park and your camper van, your big RV is much bigger than the parking spot, and therefore affect the traffic or other people trying to park, then at this point you will be liable for a fine. So that's the one thing I need to keep in mind. But many towns, thinking about like Wellington or Queenstown, everything, they have some parking spots which are much bigger, and there is a little icon of an RV, of a camper van. And when you have when you see that, that means you can park here. Or sometimes your camper van does fit and it's fine. You don't have to be too crazy about it. If you go a little bit out, you'll be fine, right? But it's just like if you take like 3 spots, well, obviously that's not going to work. So for parking, you need to be aware of that. Also, when you go to supermarket, usually park the furthest away from the door, so you don't affect all the
there's usually loads of spaces like the furthest away from the supermarket, and that gives you plenty of space to actually take up a few spaces if you need to.
Yeah, so that's not a law, that's just common courtesy. When you go with an RV to a supermarket, you park as far as you can from the door, where there is like no one parking and everything, so you don't you don't basically affect other customers. So that's the main thing that I kind of want to point out for the parking. Now, the last thing that I want to drill through with the parking is that you make sure that you keep the curtains open, because if the curtains are closed, especially if you park overnight and you stay in a hotel or something like that, which may happen, especially if you stay in a town, you cannot stay overnight. Like just parking your camper van somewhere and just stay overnight is not legal. You can just park in the middle of Queenstown town and stay overnight there and sleep. This is not allowed. So you need to leave the curtains open to show that you're not sleeping here. We actually did get a fine, despite leaving the curtains open. We did get a fine, but we were able to, we didn't get to pay for it because we showed our reservation for a hostel there. So you leave them open and you make sure that it's clear that you're not sleeping in the camper
but
van.
I think for most of you guys, you're going to stay in your camper van the whole time anyway, so it
But
won't really apply
to
to. But yeah, you'll have to. But you have to stay in holiday parks and campsites. You can't just park up in a car park for the night and camp there.
But I just want to stress that applies even if you decide to drive your camper van out to go have dinner and have a few drinks or this and that and enjoy the town, and then it's night and you park camper van and then you leave back and it's like 10 or 11. People may think that you were sleeping here and you may have gotten a fine. So that's why I'm making sure to say that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Now, should we talk about a few things you need to be aware of when you drive an RV?
Yeah. So
start with the first one.
Let's start with a mistake that we have personally made. And
we don't do mistakes.
Did we film it? So during the last a couple of years ago, basically we did New Zealand's biggest gap year, which is 365 days of 365 activities. And we were driving a huge RV then. And one of the mistakes we made is misjudging the height of our RV. And there's a lot of verandas on the towns.
So overhangs, over like the footpath and everything.
Yeah, so basically like little sheltered areas that go, that stick out of shops and things. If you park up on the street next to them, sometimes they overhang a little bit too far into the street, and it happened to us. We actually crashed the top of our camper van into one of those overhangs, and it put a massive dent into our camper van. So just be aware of basically the height of your vehicle and what other obstructions might be around. Another one that gets a lot of people is just signs on the side of the road. If you're parking next to, might be a parking sign or something, you can easily catch the top of that sign with your camper van as well. So just be aware of that. Also, in a lot of cities, because there's a lot of coastal cities in New Zealand, it can often be very windy, and this obviously impacts your driving a little bit. A lot. Yeah, because you've got a tall camper van, the wind can affect like the steering a little bit. So you do obviously want to slow down and be really aware of that. On
that note, I really want to point out that when we arrived down in Wellington for the first time, Wellington is actually one of the windiest city in the world. The drive down toward Wellington with the big camper van was very scary. That's for sure. And on top of that, it made it move a lot. So you've really got to be aware of that. That's for sure. Yeah.
Another thing to note is that there's a lot of cities in New Zealand with a lot of hills and things like that. So make sure that you are aware of, using all the right gears and stuff when you're trying to get up a hill with that large vehicle. A lot of vehicles are automatic, so that's fine, but you might need to, go into the low gear and stuff to basically tackle all those hills going upwards and downwards. And
so the steeper the hill, the higher your gear is. Even if you're on an automatic, you go to 2 or you go to 3 because it helps the whole camper van to slow down, and it helps your brake pad and everything. And this will be something that you will have to do in New Zealand because there is a lot of hills. Especially an example is Dunedin, which is such a hilly city and everything like that. We kind of driving around Dunedin, we were in gear 2 or 3 literally the whole time.
So another thing to note is also there's some very narrow streets in some cities. For instance, Auckland and Wellington, they both have quite narrow streets, and there's obviously vehicles or something parked on the side of the road. So when you're taking corners, but just obviously make sure there's enough clearance for so you're not scraping along other vehicles, for instance. And I think that we actually did quite a lot when we were going into larger cities is to quickly Google places to park a camper van in each city, just finding some actual good places to park a camper van, because there's a lot of multi-story car parks that won't actually fit a camper van in it. So you need to find open air car parks. They're usually the best ones to give you plenty of space.
All right. Now just to wrap that up, we're going to give you a little bit of tips about, how to drive, just generic tips about how to drive a camper van and an RV, because not the thing that you drive every single day. And the first thing that we notice all the time and that we hear is that you really need to take very seriously your basic kind of a learner's permit kind of stuff. It's adjust the seat and adjust the mirror. But it's so critical because the vehicle is so much bigger, and because you're so not used to it, and because also you're sitting much higher on the road. So it's a very different kind of feel and different driving stuff. So take it very seriously and make sure you adjust it when you're unsure about it. So you adjust your seat, you adjust the wheel of the vehicle, and then you adjust the mirror, and you make sure that you do have really good visibility everywhere. I just cannot stress that enough. Another good thing to do, especially when you just pick up the camper van for the first time, usually there is a big car park where you pick up your camper van. Make sure you test how sharply can you turn, just so you actually are aware how maneuverable your camper van is going to be. So I'm not saying drive fast and sharply turn. I just say, like, go slowly, but just see how much you can turn, just to know what you will be able to do and in which situation will you have to tell yourself it's just not doable. So I think that's really important to do. Now, a lot of people are going to be trying to pass you when you drive, so it is even more important to use the turn signal. So do not forget to use the turn signal, because very often you're going to have people trying to pass you. If you don't indicate, they will be already on their way, and this is the cause of accidents very, very frequently. And finally, not funny, but speaking of the same subject, make sure to let people pass. Now, it's very customary in New Zealand, especially since we mostly have one-lane roads, like almost the whole country is one-lane roads, to just stop on the side when you have a bay. You actually stop and you let everybody pass. So if you see more than 2 cars behind you, you stop and you let them pass. It's very important. Obviously, when it's safe to pass, when you have enough, when it's safe to stop and where you have enough space, but it's very important to do that. If you do actually block the traffic for a certain amount of time and everything, I think there's a rule in New Zealand, you can get a fine for that, but it's very rare. I'm not saying you're going to get a fine, but it's customary, so, do that. We touched about that already, but you need to know your high clearance. So when you pick up your camper van, you need to know what's the high clearance, and it needs to be in meters, because the signs are going to give you, like, this tunnel has an 8-meter high clearance.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be in meters. So you need to know your high clearance, and you need to know it in meters. And finally, when you drive a camper van, you need to plan ahead your moves. So you have the chance to actually be higher when you sit, so you get to see further. So technically, you can plan ahead. You know where you're going to be turning. There is no last minute, oh shit, I missed the turn, and turn right. That's not happening with the camper van. So you need to plan ahead. You need to actually think about it first. You need to communicate with your co-pilot, which is going to be your wife or your girlfriend or anything like that. You need to communicate a lot and plan ahead your moves. But that said, it gives you so much freedom traveling in New Zealand. It's absolutely awesome. Don't let that deter you. It's just a bunch of tips for you to be able to make the most of your camper van trip in New Zealand. And I think that's going to be very useful to you guys. Yeah. Speaking of that, if it is, click like, click subscribe. We are here every week. We're here every week. And obviously, there is going to be also a lot of links in the description below to help you guys look further into, this question. All right, going back to the live chat right now. Good morning, May. It's nice to hear that you are coming next week. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. And that's pretty useful. I think you're going to be doing a lot of binge watching of our videos before you come, so you're going to be really well prepared. Yusuf is asking us some immigration question. Yusuf, we do not have the right to give immigration advice. We say that every single week. We have made a couple of videos explaining the different visas available in New Zealand. That's the only information that we can give you. So the only thing I can tell you is to watch this other video or contact Immigration New Zealand directly for that query. And yeah, I think we answered everybody's question. Anna is making some jokes. And that's pretty much it. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. We did stay much longer than planned, 7 minutes longer. What? But yeah, that was really awesome to hang out with you guys. We're going to be back here next week. When are we going to be back?
Well, we are going to be back at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, but just for the rest of you guys around the world, that is on a Saturday at 2 p.m. EST if you're in the US, or 11 a.m. PST if you're in the US. Also, that is on Saturday evening in Europe around 7 p.m. if you're in UK or France. And in India, that is 12:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And yeah, we're here for 1 hour every single week, so we can answer all your questions. And
about traveling in New Zealand.
About traveling in New Zealand. Nothing really off topic. So again, we'll just remind you where you can ask your questions. You can obviously join us for the live session and put your questions in the live chat. Alternatively, you can put your questions in the comments of any of our videos and we'll add them to our pool of questions to answer next week. You can also send us messages on Facebook on BackpackerGuide.NZ, or on Instagram at BackpackerGuide.NZ, or on Twitter at BPKGuide.
There you go. Thank you very much for joining us, guys, for this other week. And we hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye.